2 years ago, a youth leader from Batangas City was red-tagged and accused of being a terrorist by the military. But he remained steadfast in his campaign for academic freedom, justice, and safe schools in Southern Tagalog. Who is JPEG Garcia? Will his cry as a human rights defender and not a terrorist transform votes for him as Partylist representative? Joining us is the third nominee of Kabataan Partylist, John Peter Angelo Garcia. Morning, JPEG.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Of course. We'll get to know you better through a Windows Explorer version since ang palayaw mo ay parang file name. Okay. So, we'll be showing you this one. So, JPEG file number 1. So you're from Batangas City, you're Batangas boy.
Yes.
Okay, top of your class in Ibaan Central. In 30 seconds, how would you describe yourself growing up as a young Batangueño? Timer starts now.
I think I grew up in a very normal family naman. Graduated elementary sa isang public school sa Ibaan, then transferred to a university where my father used to teach PE. I got a scholarship there because I was a student journalist nung high school. And it's a normal childhood for me. 30 minutes away yung school from our home, everyday commute. And I feel like growing up, my parents have always been so supportive and accepting of me.
All right, that's good to hear. But my question is, siguro kung pinagpatuloy mo yung schooling mo sa University of Batangas and not sa UPLB, do you think magiging activist ka?
I think doon pa rin mapupunta yung yung career ko eventually, pero it will take some more time.
Bakit?
In Batangas kasi, especially because I was focused on my studies ng sobra-sobra noong time na yun. I wasn't really involved in a lot of extracurricular activities labas sa university. Plus, I think enrolling eventually in UPLB allowed me to exit my comfort zone kasi wala ako sa pamilya ko, wala ako sa known friends ko in high school. So, I had to find a community and I found it through activism.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, let's go to the second JPEG file. Your family has public servants, teachers, like your dad, and OFWs. Now, in 30 seconds, how did they shape your idea of leadership and duty? Timer starts now.
Yeah, so what I've said, my family has always been accepting and supportive of me. I think alam din nila na pinalaki nila ako ng maayos, so maybe that's where their confidence in me is coming from. Natuto ako sa kanila na maging community involved. My mother is involved in the barangay. Yung father ko, friend yun ng lahat. So, I think nandoon yung earliest concept ko of helping our community. So, eventually...
Alright, kanina kasi natanong ko si Renee din kanina.
Yeah.
Paano nalaman ng mga magulang mo na aktivista ka? And how did they accept that?
During the pandemic, although wala pa kaming face-to-face classes, online pa ang lahat, I decided to move back to UPLB so I can participate in on-ground activities. So, syempre, medyo nagtataka na yung parents ko at the time. Bakit ako bumabalik sa UPLB? Wala namang face-to-face classes. So, I didn't see a point in lying. So, straight up, sinabi ko na sa kanila, I am an activist, I participate in campaigns. At first, medyo takot sila kasi updated naman sila sa balita, alam nilang dangerous ang pagiging aktivista.
Takot, hindi galit.
Yeah, hindi sila galit.
Okay.
Alam nilang tama yung ginagawa ko, pero takot sila for my safety. They wanted me to stop, pero tireless persuasion then with my family, and eventually, and now, very supportive sila sa akin.
Pasukin na nga natin yung takot ng mga magulang mo because in 2023, you were red-tagged and na-implicate yung pangalan mo sa isang, sabihin na natin, sa New People's Army because somebody said that you were involved in that.
Yes, an official from the 59th IB of the Philippine Army alleged na I'm a certain katango of the New People's Army and that they saw me in an armed encounter in Batangas in 2021 na almost magbabalik pa lang ako sa UP Los Baños. So it was unfounded, it was an obvious attempt to silence us kasi at the time we were conducting a fact-finding mission or we conducted a fact-finding mission in Taysan, Batangas, and we revealed or we saw na there were human rights violations of the army. So I think their red tagging against me is an attempt to silence me.
Okay, pero hindi ka naman nila kinasuhan, ano?
I was never formally charged.
Okay, yes.
Isinama nila yung pangalan ko sa mga sinumpaang salaysay nila alleging na I was katango.
Alright, sige. On to the third JPEG file. Your days in UPLB. Now, in 30 seconds, tell us the story kung paano ka napasok sa pagiging aktivista sa UP. Timer starts now.
In 2019, nagvo-volunteer na ako sa isang Human Rights Alliance, just UPLB. And then in 2020, mas namulat ako noong nangyari yung pandemic and everyone was stuck. And instead of real response from the government, it was a militaristic one. So nangyari rin yung Bloody Sunday Massacre during the pandemic in Southern Tagalog. That's when I realized na something is wrong and I have to do something in my capacity as a student.
Alright, so just like Rene, although hindi ikaw yung umupong student regent, ano?
Yes.
So you were the third nominee for the 40th
Yes.
UP student regent in 2023. So did being an activist get in the way of a possible selection? Naging hindrance ba siya or hindi naman? O anong nangyari along the way?
Hindi, actually, yung nomination ko, I think, is heavily founded on my activism. All the nominees naman have background in activism. It's just that we had to choose the most strategic nominee na magiging student regent at the time. I think hindi siya nakahinder, nakatulong pa siya to introduce the campaigns that we believe in, to introduce our advocacies in the UP system nationwide.
Ito, medyo bata ka pa. Ilang taon ka na nga? Sorry if you don't mind.
25 po ako
You're
ngayon.
25 years old and you took up Com Arts.
Communication arts.
Okay,
in
so
UP Los
are you still
Baños.
finishing your course now?
Yes, I'm actually in my last leg sa thesis ko. Graduating ako ngayong semester, Communication Arts in UP Los Baños. I'm writing a creative thesis, a memoir about activism in the Southern Tagalog region.
Kumbaga, nagagamit mo pa siya ngayon para sa pag-aaral mo.
Yes.
But hindi ba itong pagtakbo nyo sa party list, hindi ba ito nakakaapekto sa pagtatapos mo sa pag-aaral?
Like Rene, I had to find ways to balance my time. Ngayon, na campaign period, almost every day may campaign sorties during the day, and then at night, I write my thesis. My advisor and my critic were gracious enough naman to understand my situation, and they actually support me knowing na my material is heavily based on what I do as an activist.
Okay, that's great to hear. No? So now, let's go to the next JPEG file. Now, in 30 seconds, pwede mo bang ikwento sa amin yung naging karanasan mo nang mapabilang ka sa tinaguriang terorista, tinagkang terorista? So, how was it? Timer starts now.
May chilling effect, ang red tagging and terror tagging. Lahat kami na nakaranas nito were mentally disturbed, pero because we have a community that supports us, na ipanalo namin yung campaign, eventually the complaints against us were dismissed by the prosecutor, proving that we are innocent and meron lang kaming advokasya para sa karapatang pantao.
Okay, so I'm wondering, may takot ba? Kailan mo naramdaman yung takot na aktivista ka? Yung takot na sinasabi din ng magulang mo?
Yeah. Alam niyo po, nung nalaman ko yung tungkol sa implication against me sa mga kaso sa mga kaibigan ko, at the time, hindi pa ako agad nakaramdam ng takot eh. Mas galit and drive to counter these accusations. Eventually, nung na-dismiss yung mga allegations against us, I think that's when I had the time to process. And doon nag-kick in yung takot na kahit pala dismiss na yung mga aligasyon, nagpapatuloy pa rin yung mga atake. Meron pa rin threats ng surveillance, na-experience pa rin namin yun. Meron pa rin messages akong natatanggap, posts alleging na terorista ako. So, pang-araw-araw na buhay yung ganitong mga banta, red tagging for breakfast.
Pero paano mo siya hinaharap? Hindi ba mas nakakatakot yun? Because they are individuals na hindi mo kilala na nagpapadala kamo sa'yo ng mga mensahe and potentially may mga surveillance activities against you.
Well, ultimately, I think ang goal lang naman is pahintuin kami eh. And I don't wanna give them that joy na matigil kami sa ginagawa namin. And I think disservice din sa mga kapwa ko aktivista kung magpadala tayo sa takot. Disservice siya sa taong bayan na umaasa sa paglaban ng mga aktivista para sa makabayang pagbabago sa lipunan. So, I think after ng lahat ng yon, I've concluded na the best way to move forward is to still continue to fight.
Okay, now let's go to the 5th JPEG file. So, apart from, being an activist, syempre dapat meron ka rin namang ibang pinagkakaabalahan. O hindi dapat, baka tatanungin ko nga sa'yo, ano yung mga pinagkakaabalahan mo? What are your hobbies? And what do you do to relax pagkatapos makatanggap ng maraming mga pagbabanta?
Recently...
Timer starts now.
Okay, recently ang pinaka-na-enjoy ko is mag-jog sa Freedom Park sa UP Los Baños.
Okay.
Feeling ko doon ako nakakakuha ng a bit of an alone time to run and think about my life. And nakaka-boost din siya ng endorphins eh, magpapawis ng kaunti. And it helps me process the emotions and the baggage from all that experience.
Mahilig ka bang manood ng mga anime or magbasa ng manga?
Growing up, big fan ako ng Naruto.
Okay.
Tapos, hanggang ngayon, nire-rewatch ko siya paminsan-minsan bilang comfort anime ko.
Comfort anime.
Yes.
Alright, let's go to the next photo. So, this photo is, let's see. Why serve now? So, in 30 seconds, explain why you chose to run with Kabataan Partylist and what's your mission. Timer starts now.
Kapayapaang nakabatay sa katarungang panlipunan. Isa yan sa mga agenda namin sa Kabataan Partylist. At tingin ko bilang biktima ng terror tagging, napakalaking hamon sa akin na ipagpatuloy yung laban ng mamamayan para sa just and lasting peace. To address the armed conflict by resolving its roots para mawala yung mga red tagging and terror tagging laban sa amin.
Pag-usapan natin yung mga ginagawa mo. Kasi nagvo-volunteer ka nga sa fact-finding mission and sinabi mo, yun yung naging, potentially yun yung naging cause kung bakit ka na red tag, bakit ka na tag as terrorist, ano? Bilang bahagi ng fact-finding mission sa kaso ni Kailin Kasaw, no? Na ano yung tumatak sa'yo sa karanasan na yun? And for the benefit of our viewers, si Kailin was a 9-year-old child who died in a crossfire between the NPA and state forces in 2022. Anong natutunan mo sa pagsama sa fact-finding mission na yan?
First, we found through interviews with the community na it was actually not a crossfire between the NPA and the AFP. It was murder. We believe it's murder by the 59th IB. And doon ko nakita na heavily militarized ang napakaraming bayan in the countryside sa iba't ibang probinsya sa Southern Tagalog. And I'm sure sa buong Pilipinas din. And this militarization in the countryside is a manifestation of what we call a de facto martial law in the Philippines. Bagamat hindi formally declared, essentially in effect yung martial law because of military rule over civilian authority in the countryside.
Maraming nagsasabi kasi, JPEG, na kapag aktivista ka, kalaban ka ng gobyerno. Would you care to react then, briefly?
I think ang kinakalaban kasi natin ay yung mga mali sa gobyerno. So it's easy to misconstrue some facts. Ako, naniniwala ako na being in the left ay marangal dahil pagpanig din ito sa taong bayan na naghahangad ng pagbabago and naghahangad ng yun nga, pagbabago from the status quo. So kung nakikita ito bilang paglaban sa gobyerno, tingin ko mahalaga talagang may lumalaban pa rin sa namumuno para merong checks and balances.